Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I am so excited today. We're talking to a fellow C-Suite Network member, but we're also talking about, oh my gosh, one of the coolest topics in the world, retirement and being a digital nomad. This is going to be so much fun. And so please join me in welcoming Emily Bron to our program today. Welcome, Emily.
Hello, Debbie. Hello. I'm really happy to be a guest today. And I believe it will be really power hour with
Great.
all our discussions and topics. And it's just beginning.
I know. We are going to have so much fun chatting about this. So let me tell people just a little bit about you, and then we will really dive into this. So some time ago, stuck in traffic on the way home from work, Emily Bron realized that there should be more to life than an exhausting Toronto commute, endless meetings, and so little sunshine. Although she picked exciting destinations for her vacations, she was not living the life of her dreams. Like most of us, she couldn't just leave it all behind to escape to an exotic country. The reality of kids, mortgages, and work presented challenges. She never abandoned her dream, however, and started working on her plan. Emily began to travel more and didn't just waste time at the beach or strolling through local markets. Instead, she planned an interactive schedule, jam-packed with meeting international service providers, real estate developers, local travel agents, and partnering with some of the biggest names in international living. Little by little, it all came together. Emily created an extensive database of information focused on international retirement and living options around the world. She invested in a few projects of her own and now helps others achieve their dream of relocating to their chosen destination. She experienced firsthand how difficult it can be to have questions while sifting through a vast amount of information to arrive at answers. Additionally, each country has a local vibe that you simply cannot pick up from the internet. Becoming an international lifestyle consultant was a logical next step for Emily. So again, Emily, welcome.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to inform you and followers of your podcast and anyone who can be interested in this topic.
I love it. Well, you've had kind of a varied career to get to where you are today. So tell us a little bit about that. How did you determine that being an international lifestyle consultant is your passion?
You know what, in different periods of my life, actually, I've had different professional directions. Mm-hmm. Maybe I will start a little bit from the beginning. I was born in a country which does not exist anymore on the map, former Soviet Union, in which is now independent Republic of Moldova. Okay. I lived for years in another former Soviet country, which is now independent Republic of Ukraine. I traveled a lot in the border of Soviet Union all the time. And actually in every country I lived, I've had different professional direction. My actual real full-time immigration started in 19th when I, with family, immigrated to Israel. So I have experience living in Middle East. Okay. After years, I arrived with the family to Canada, where I'm living for 24 years. It was my second immigration. And all my life, I like to travel. It was my passion. It was always idea to have this kind of lifestyle, even when I didn't know how to name it, like digital nomad. It was not on my radar, on anyone's radar at this time. And actually being, part of the family, I've had different priorities at the time. Several years ago, really, you put the story from my website of me commuting, and I was working as IT consultant in Toronto. Actually, every time changing and taking new profession, it was my kind of like a new destination in a business. At this time, I was already self-employed, but working for big government and financial organizations in Toronto. Lifestyle in North America, you would agree with me, full of stresses.
Right. Oh yeah. Commuting. Ugh.
And mortgages, and like, I don't want to bore people with things they know anyway, and things that they know from their own experience. But with all my kind of international experience living and working in different countries, I started to feel that there is something like, from my personal perspective, life became more and more expensive in Canada and United States. And, you know, after 50s, we kind of looking from different perspective on the life around us. And I was just thinking, if I would be able to retire and live how I wish after so many years of hard working, in, say, Canada, with all this cost of living and taxes, and I would say climate, which is not very...
it gets a little cold up there, right?
A little bit, and not just a little. If it's a little bit, it's okay. It's for long time cold.
Yes, long winters.
I'm okay with a little bit. I like change of seasons and weather, but you know, when it's stripped me like out of movement, it's a different story. So I started to look around, and usually what I do from a researcher point of view. Actually, it was my first profession, scientific research back in Moldova, and I was looking, so what kind of options I have in my situation, and I discovered it's not only me. So many people, like, as we know now, baby boomers, and I somehow close to this group, have the same problems. And for years, Americans and Canadians, when they were coming to this part of the life, started to look around, researching on what options we have, where we can get a better lifestyle, meaning stretch our social security check, our pension, you know, nest egg, where we can get health services, which we might not get in the United States or even in Canada, because they became more expensive. And I've had myself some issues which prompted me to do research in the medical tourism direction. Actually, I opened company several years ago, and my first company was travel company, Travel Passion. It was brand name, and the destination, my business destination, which I pursued, it was medical tourism to Latin America, and, looking for retirement places, travel program. I myself did research, and at this point, I mostly knew about countries which is kind of a brand name, and everyone in North America knows in regards to retirement living, Costa Rica, Panama, and Mexico, and I was considering options, conditions here, and I've been in all these countries, but I selected Mexico for myself. For myself, I flew to Mexico. I purchased my first apartment for investment. I decided I don't know what's gonna be. You know, there's still kind of 7-8 years for me to decide. It was 3 years ago, but okay, I did my first step. I made connections like in this place. Surprisingly, like several connections, and I found a lot of interesting people, and real estate brokers approached me with desire to create maybe some common program, and it's what I came from with lifestyle tour, because I was saying, before people consider you know, to move, it's a serious decision, even part-time,
they darn well better go visit.
And not just visit, you know, being in resorts. They need to understand culture of this place, people, infrastructure, how it's working, you know, to know about history, have a different feeling, and to see if it's matches their ideal dream destination. So I was kind of responsible for cultural part, and at the same time to show what's going on, because there is a lot of interesting development projects in Riviera Maya, for example. Amazing architectural design and really interesting vibe, but it's a separate story. So after then, I created another tour for Central Mexican state, which I fell in love with Mexico. You can see it.
Yes, yes, so colorful and pretty.
Yes, it's my Mexican style, as I say. No, it's really my Mexican dresses and jewelries. And it's completely different country, I would say. Central Mexico state, different tradition, different cultural arts, and I was very excited about it. I was I traveled in different parts of Mexico. Mexico is a big country,
right?
And with different climate zone, with different condition, like Mexican states are different. I would say the same, maybe even bigger sense as American state somehow in cultural sense. And after that, I decided that Mexico, it's not enough for me. And it's not only not enough for me, it's different people have different preferences, priorities,
right.
and maybe prejudice, whatever biases toward Mexico. But there's another country which I have knowledge as well, but more knowledge from travel perspective. But I started to look for expat communities because for me, it's as a person who have immigration experience, it's very clear that the best what can be at the beginning when people are landing to new country, even part-time living. An American might not everyone speaking Spanish. Other language is the best what can be if you can land and can connect with local expat communities. And here it was really, and it still is the most interesting project for me because there are array of different expat communities in Portugal, in Spain, Italy. So I started to follow, these groups. I started to go to international conferences and connecting with professionals who are working for, I would say, kind of similar market. And I'm continued to get updates, and I'm following news from the countries of my interest, my destination country. And what I mean, when you look at my website, emilybron.com, there's destination. And it's not just countries I like more countries, but it's countries where I have connections, and I know I can offer through my connection different lifestyle options. And since there are different people with different circumstances, different preferences, for example, I know our Eastern European,
Yeah, see, I had to put a cough drop in. We were just having such fun talking that we're giving ourselves, the little scritchy throats all of a sudden.
Yes, some people like to explore Europe. Eastern European prefer to go to Eastern Europe. So I'm still kind of developing my new contacts with whatever I have at this point. I'm out to show more and get more options for people who might consider it.
Right. I love all of this. And you've written a great little ebook called The Best Places to Retire 2021. It's on your website. We'll tell people how they can get that later. But, it talks about these different destinations. And I really love the fact that you do tours with people before they make that decision. Because, we might all go, ooh, I like to go into Cancun, or, ooh, I like to go into here. But living there is obviously very different. How do you get power? Where's the post office? Is there a post office? Medical care is obviously something, and so the tours that you take people on really let them learn, okay, is this going to work for us? Because I'm sure, questions that people have, how fast can I get back home? How fast can I get to where my family is? All of those various things. And you've got all of that in these, and as you said, it's not every country. It's just, it's a handful right now, but they're very interesting countries. And part of what I like too about your ebook is that you talk about the requirements for living there and kind of establishing a residency, because, as we said, you're not going as a tourist, you're buying property, you're getting some type of visa so that you can actually stay longer. And so you've got that information, and, obviously all of that changes. So, we encourage people, to check on those things before you're making the big leap. But it does give people an idea of, okay, how much do I have to invest? What type of visa do I get? All of those things. But that actually brought up my very first question is, I'm a US citizen. So would I, if doing this, would I give up my US citizenship, or would I become a dual citizen?
First of all, it all depends on country of
Okay.
the probable selection,
Mhm.
and nobody press you to give up your citizenship.
Right.
It's with you.
Mhm.
Only you who can decide under
Mhm.
some circumstances actually like to renounce it. And
Mhm.
I'm not
Mhm.
speaking about it. I'm
Mhm.
not speaking about. I understand your question because like many of us, like I have dual citizenship. Some
Mhm.
people have triple citizenship.
Right.
I mean,
Mhm.
people who immigrated
Mhm. Mhm.
from country to country, but there is a residency. By the way, not always you need to get citizenship. There is
Mhm.
difference between citizenship and residency.
Right.
And
Mhm.
this way, I'm not kind of prompting or pressing, like saying people you need to buy property.
Mhm.
What I'm speaking about, check if it's for you.
Mhm.
For some people, it might be, by the way, direction to get their second residency.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
what actually people doing lately.
Mhm.
Because let's face the reality, world is changing.
Mhm.
Economies are changing.
Right.
Political
Oh yeah,
picture.
the last year, just holy schmoly.
I can tell you, I feel it's just beginning.
Mhm.
It's just beginning. Like we have ahead of us couple of rough years, I would say. And many people
Mhm.
already considering, like looking around,
Mhm.
just in case to have our diversification of,
Right.
I don't know, asset
Mhm.
to have a
Mhm.
vacation home maybe
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
other country,
Mhm.
or invest now to see maybe it will be my
Mhm.
home when I will spend 6 months
Mhm.
working remotely,
Mhm.
or retirement, or maybe
Mhm.
it will be a place for my children.
Mhm.
And at the same time, again, depends on the country, like purchase of property might lead to the residency, to
Right.
second
Mhm.
citizenship. So it's kind of, but
Mhm.
every country, it's a different case. That's why actually there is a big industry of lawyers and
Mhm. Oh, I
companies
bet. Mhm.
who helping, to navigate in all this.
Mhm.
I'm giving just kind of first spectrum on information, but actually what I am about, and with all what was mentioned before, many of my plans were shattered last summer
Mhm.
when COVID happened and
Right. When we couldn't travel. Mhm.
was landed actually. So I was thinking exactly a year ago, considering, okay, what I'm gonna do? Actually, my main IT consulting
Mhm.
contract was terminated.
Mhm.
And my plans for the summer, last summer, to
Mhm.
be in Portugal, Spain, or maybe with a group and
Mhm.
discover Bulgaria and
Mhm.
other places is still kind of not
Right.
clear. I hope now
Yeah,
I'm
better to wait a little bit longer. Mhm.
yes, no. But in this way, I was thinking how I can really utilize
Mhm.
my knowledge, my
Mhm.
personal experience,
Mhm.
my connection in different
Right.
countries,
Mhm.
and my passion. And I came to idea about international lifestyle
Mhm.
consulting. It's
Mhm.
my long answer to your first question.
Right. And one of the things, and especially because of the last year, that is so interesting to me about this is the whole idea of remote working and being that digital nomad. Unless you're in a pretty remote area, we have Wi-Fi. And so to be able to go somewhere, yeah, a month would be considered a vacation. Working 6 months somewhere, that's probably where you're going to be thinking about, okay, should I invest in property, things like that? Because yeah, if you're just paying somebody else, you certainly don't want to live in a hotel for 6 months. Holy schmoly. But yeah, that just really intrigues me, because I think we've made major shifts over the last year, and I don't see things changing. And the people that keep saying we can't wait for it to get back to normal.
No,
Now,
it will.
we're not going back to what it was like in January of 2020. That's just not going to happen. And I think many people are definitely rethinking first about where do I need to be to work? Can I work remotely? And so that's one of the first things. But then even with how we do business, you're in Canada, I'm in the United States. On some of the events and things that we're on through C-Suite, we've got people from around the world that are participating. So no longer are we just going to our local networking events. We're networking with people from around the world and still having very successful businesses. So, there's nothing that says that I have to be sitting here in Atlanta to be doing that. I might be able to go to Belize and be doing it from there.
It's exactly the point.
Right.
And I understand it years ago and started to follow actually all these new trends, new for some of us, but not new for others. Digital nomads as a concept, as a group of people, actually, it's not exactly new.
Right.
These people were enjoying this lifestyle last 10 years when internet became more available, cheap, and actually provided more technical opportunity for people to work while they're traveling.
Right.
But remote workers, I'm a little bit dividing from, other group, which can be overlapped with baby boomers and the digital nomads. Remote workers, for me, it's people who, after a year or more of working from home in Canada and United States and other places, realized at the beginning it was hard to adjust. After then, the process started to work, and actually, there are statistics proving that it's more efficient for many companies to.
Like was it just not having that commute?
And people, let's face, and I know you're working more hours from home when you're working from home.
Right.
And, people started to think like, why should we pay all these high taxes, all rental or mortgages in New York, Toronto, other places, when we can spend our time, say, in Mexico, in Belize, and Panama, enjoying life, sun, and for low cost of living. And people started to move, actually, to try to do it for the winter. I know many friends who managed to get out of Canada. It was winter because, we closed maybe for more than a year. And it's the same in Europe. I can tell you even more. I'm participating in already a number of conferences and a summit of digital nomads. You can do it now online. I mean, I do it online with different people, and it's already obvious trend for me. Younger generation, I would say Generation X, they have already, their professional degrees. They have already some experience of working, and mostly freelancers or IT professionals. They're moving out of the big cities already. They did it before. They're moving out of, I would say, brand name countries as US, Canada, UK, because of more taxes, more regulation. And let's face it, our children actually after university get a lot of loans, after university cost of education, and now they have this option to invest in mortgages for these prices. They have different aspects, they different worldview. They don't want to be rooted in a place and to devote all their energy in life to paying bills. They want to see a world, they want to travel. And there's a lot of already options created for this category. There's expat communities, there's new living communities already built in Belize, in Panama, in Nicaragua, in other countries. I just know it from experience working with these companies. And at the same time, for example, in Mexico, in Portugal, you can find places, known digital nomad hubs, not only for digital nomad, for everyone, co-working spaces, co-living spaces. So professionals like 30 plus, mostly unfortunately for me, they don't have families, but they mobile. So they okay to spend time getting friends in new destination. It's what they do. They do it in Playa del Carmen, in Tulum, Riviera Maya. They do it in Algarve of Portugal. They do it in Bulgaria, in several regions. So there's known digital nomad and now remote workers hubs, which already accepting people. Cost of living different, climate, food, but there is, I believe, will be still regulation. Like all these pictures are okay, and I like this vibe, and people already exploring these new places as a future place of living. They don't know for how long, how it's gonna be. And I understand that last year of conservation in one place affected many, especially young people who desire to get out. But I believe that world will be more regulated, I think, in European Union, in other countries. So the lifestyle of just hop on, hop off, like it was before with digital nomad, like I spent 3 months or maybe 3 weeks here, it will be more regulated with travel passport, with other regulations. So what I'm saying, I understand your desire. I have this itchy feet myself, but let's be practical. Let's see how it's gonna work. Let's be prepared. You don't need to be uprooted. Like God forbid, another wave of some COVID variant will come. You kind of stuck in country, or you deported because you don't belong to this country. That's why you need to be prepared. You need to have your business kind of in order in your own country, in the United States. You're a taxpayer, don't forget, the United States citizen paying taxes regardless of what countries they live in. And there is a lot of changes I believe will come in this, and not only for Americans. Other countries will probably follow the same rule of taxing the citizens regardless where they live, but we will see. But so make the correct, be mentally and actually correctly prepared for your travel. Even 6 months, you don't need to give up your citizenship. I'm not saying about it, but know the rules. Know the
Right. Yeah, I have a friend who several years ago started teaching abroad. She's single. The school that she taught at closed, and so she had multiple options. But because she was single, she thought and she's always loved to travel. So it was interesting. The first country that she went to was Dubai, and she taught there for several years. She actually taught at one of the state schools, and so she worked through the State Department, and so this was it took about a year to actually do this whole process, because she would be teaching members of the royal family. And of course, in Dubai, there's very, very specific rules about things like that. But she just thought that was the greatest thing in the world. Now the cool thing for that, when we talk about working remotely, her housing was provided. Now, was it, something spectacular? No, it was a fairly small apartment, but, she didn't have to worry about that. There were all sorts of things. And then when that ended, she went to China. And she has been in China for the last 3 or 4 years. Now, her visa has actually expired, and she's coming back to the United States. But it was very interesting, because here we'd say, hey, we're taking a weekend vacation and going from here, Tennessee, because you don't want to go far on a weekend vacation. Might go to, down to, New Orleans would be a little bit further away. I mean, she went to totally different countries. And just what she experienced in doing that is absolutely phenomenal. And I mean, the amazing thing is she does this completely by herself. And which, for many people, that would be a challenge. I mean, a little scary, but she also, as you were saying, one of the big things that she did, she researched everything. Now it did help, going to Dubai for the first couple of years, there were some very specific rules and she followed them. I mean, she was very careful about, whether it was culture, because there's clearly culture rules in the Middle East. But there were also rules because she was working for the State Department. China has been a little bit different. Now it has been very different being in China during the pandemic. Oh yeah, she would send pictures and things, but it's always been very interesting, and that that really, I think that was it. It just was so incredibly interesting. First, that she even took that leap, but then it was but as I said, there's she's been very, very careful to follow all of the rules. And like some of the things that she has to be very careful about is how much time she can spend back in the United States before it messes up her visas. Yeah. And so she is very careful about that. She, money is clearly a thing, does she keep it there? Does she send it back to the States? I mean, all these various things, but that information is out there. And so it just goes to show it is, it is something that is very doable. And, she is honestly not exactly looking forward to coming back to the United States, because this has been such an adventure. And the thing is, for those of us who are of that age, where we can consider that, whether it's working part-time or, being able to move our business and be able to do that, or, like I said, she's been working full-time, or retire early. I think that's the other thing, is there's many people now who are retiring early. I think this is a great option.
Speaking about our age, as you mean, I was just 2 weeks ago on Summit Digital Nomad after 50. And I can tell you, there are many people, some of them already, have experience with this lifestyle for years, but there is a big interest in this category, and I would say baby boomers for this kind of new lifestyle, which is not new, but look, it's not for everyone. I understand.
Oh yeah. And a big part of it is what your family situation is. I mean, that's, you don't want to be far from the grandkids.
And, you should have kind of certain mindset. You should be well-traveled, maybe not too afraid of unknown.
Right. Yeah. This isn't for kind of the people who are brand new at this.
Speaking about Dubai, with all kind of respect, and I've heard a lot of stories, all was good, but I was looking and following till now, how this or other countries which accepted many employees, workers from different countries, how they behave towards these employees during the COVID. So it was very not happy story, because during the COVID, because they didn't have citizenship, they were all out. People who lived for 15 years, like from India, from India, from Europe, from America, I don't know, like your friend probably was out of this time. They've had already the, homes and children at school and life rooted. They were asked to leave the country in a short time, whatever. So it's changing. It was one of the signs for me. And for example, Bali, which is Indonesia, which is very popular between the digital nomads and remote workers, and they've had already villages of remote workers living for years, professionals. It was closed, kind of, for Americans, Canadians, and because of COVID, Australians who couldn't get back home to Australia, because Australia didn't want to get people from other countries.
Yeah, because Australia shut down really pretty hard.
But usually I understand you shut down for all other world, but you're not accepting your own citizen. You give them a place kind of to die or do what you want in where they stuck. So it's obviously, new rules coming. Many would say, and I believe it's emergency situation, circumstances, but under the same circumstances, it was kind of big test case for me.
Right.
Different countries behave differently.
Right. You know, and you're right. I think there are definitely new rules coming, because I think many of the countries realize this could fairly easily happen again. You know, and so how do they deal with it, whether it's COVID or, you know, something else? You know, because they don't want to lose their own citizens, like you were saying with you know, Australia, or, you know, the people who have lived and worked there for many years. You know, it's so, you know, kind of, we have to find, you know, that happy medium of making, you know, sure that there's safety considerations, but, you know, taking other things into account too. But yeah, it's, you know, but I think people, you know, the on the flip side, the other thing, I think a lot of countries, and you know, we've been talking about this, they're saying, you know, hey, we know that we're going to have an influx of people, you know, because it's a great place for them to work remotely, for them to be dual citizens, you know, for them to experience the cultures. So they're really actively looking for these people who are going to be doing this. And, you know, and I loved it when I was looking through your list of countries, because some of them are ones that I would never consider. But in your book, it does sound very interesting. Places like Nicaragua. I mean, you know, we tend to think of that as maybe you know, I mean, you know, a dangerous place, you know, and let's be honest, you know, there are dangerous places anywhere you go in the world. You know, and so, you know, there's certainly, you know, but there's also many safe places, and of course we hear what the media wants us to hear, you know, and so but yeah, you know, now I love the fact that on your list is Italy. You know, we went on a vacation to Italy several years ago, and I thought I could live here. I really could live here. You know, and you know, you talk about expat. We were in a community where nobody spoke English, and you know, and I spoke, you know, an itsy bitsy little night class amount of Italian, and this was before, you know, we had phones that would translate and things like that. But I still loved it because the people in that town loved us, you know, and they were, you know, they you know, they knew that I was fumbling and bumbling along with trying to ask where the heck is the bathroom, you know, and but they were super. And, you know, and clearly there's many countries where English is, you know, if not the primary language, you know, a very, you know, high on the list language. So, but yeah, what, you know, like I said, I love the fact that you've got some countries on here that we like. Greece. I mean, holy schmoly, wouldn't that be fantastic? But it's not one of those countries that you immediately think of. So talk to, what are kind of, what's like your high on the list, you know, and like you said, different considerations for everybody. But, you know, what are some of the countries that you really think are great for this?
You know what? I have a completely different approach.
Mhm.
I'm listening to people, what they are looking for,
Okay.
what's their budget, how they see, what their
Okay.
dream place
Mhm.
to be.
Mhm.
And I'm giving my kind of information
Mhm.
based on the answers I get.
Okay.
So actually, for people coming to
Mhm.
me, they get questionnaire. It's what I really advise
Okay.
anyone
Mhm.
to start with and do with your spouse
Mhm.
or like
Mhm.
other members of family
Mhm.
if you're considering to
Mhm.
do it together, because you might
Mhm.
find, you know, some new interesting
Mhm.
ideas from
Mhm.
your spouse, or
Mhm.
might be in different opinions
Mhm.
of places. And I really put a lot of questions considering different aspects
Mhm.
of life
Mhm.
and priority. You
Mhm.
put your priority, you answer the
Mhm.
question, and after then we meet and I ask additional question
Mhm.
to clarify for myself and for you
Mhm.
what might be better places. Speaking about two countries that you mentioned, and
Mhm.
I'm really kind of happy because it's kind of two drastically
Mhm.
different worlds. Our ideas and our information about countries based really on media,
Mhm.
including me,
Mhm.
of 20, maybe 30, 40 years old. In
Mhm.
a Soviet school, I remember all news from Nicaragua
Mhm.
from one side,
Right.
people
Yeah. That there
remember from
were, you
other
know,
side,
people
and it
kidnapped
was,
and killed and you know.
I can tell you, there is a lot of changes happening
Mhm.
since. I cannot say that these places became ideal,
Mhm.
but considering all other changes, I can tell you that actually quarantine regime order in Nicaragua was one of the flexible over the last year. I was surprised.
Interesting.
Yes, people, and they have several communities. People flock, whoever knew, to the Nicaragua, and I have kind of friends in Nicaragua. They get excellent lifestyles. They kind of not a lot of moving in a country, but they live their life almost without changes. I'm not speaking about vaccines and other, aspects which might be problematic for them. Mexico didn't close the border. Do you know this? It was border closed from American side,
Right.
but a lot of Americans spent here until now. Why Mexico get so popular between digital nomads and baby boomers? Because it was open home for people who couldn't or didn't want to go back to the countries of birth or citizenship. So Mexico kind of lived there. Yes, they paid their price with high COVID numbers because a lot of Americans without vaccination, without just took their trucks and drove, along the border, but they were open. And I believe that Mexico will gain a big, kudos already. People going to Mexico to buy property because it's apparently with all this media, but Mexico was better towards like people who coming other than different countries. And by the way, you can get the help. And so speaking about Italy, nice place. And I understand when you're saying you had a great time.
Oh, I know I romanticize it.
We all romanticize it when we are on, vacation, we're having good time living in Italy, which might be good, but remember, they don't speak English.
Right.
This small place.
Right. And I tell people, English is my only language, and I'm not always real good at it.
But I don't say that it's close for you. So all you need to consider to live in big cities when life is completely different.
Right.
Expensive.
Yeah, we were in a very small community, and
but for people who like this lifestyle, and there are already, by the way, I cannot say big communities. I know a couple of places, by the way, where British, most Scottish are living for years in Italy, but it might be not your place, but might be yours. It's what, by the way, I'm planning to be at the end of summer in September in Italy, really to visit these places, not as a tourist as I was before,
right.
And here, really looking from different perspective and visit a couple of small places where I feel English speaking, doesn't matter, American, Canadians, whoever, or people who don't speak Italian but speak English might consider good destination.
Right.
Obviously, it's good culture, but there is a bureaucracy in every place. And people, before they making even kind of 6 months move, need to know about it. I say it's not red flag. We know about bureaucracy here and there, but with all this, I can tell you that, Americans used to more efficiency in some processes, just to be aware and to know what you need to. And yes, it's doable. It's doable if you wish to live in small place, maybe close to big city, but I would advise, to consider something else and to be very cautious about internet connection.
Oh yeah, that was definitely one of the. Now it was 10 years ago that we were there, and so I'm sure things have changed. But yeah, I mean, we got outside of Rome, and my phone went, nope, sorry. And obviously, as we would go like to Firenze and other places, those were big tourist places, so they had internet. But yeah, where we were, we were not connected to the world at all, and it was fabulous. But that was great being on vacation. Clearly anymore, you can go 2 weeks without being connected to the world, but that's not, we need to be connected with friends, with family, all of those various things. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those places that, I mean, it was so beautiful. And maybe what I need rather than to live there is just a longer vacation.
But you know what? With prices of property
Mhm.
in even central Italy,
Mhm. Mhm.
like Abruzzo and
Mhm.
other,
Mhm.
you can have your vacation home for
Mhm.
20K
Right. Mhm.
euro. It's kind of,
Mhm.
and you can enjoy your life
Mhm.
even like it would
Mhm.
be maybe empty other time
Mhm.
of the year. You
Right.
know, when you're looking on cost of living and what you can get, and
Mhm.
maybe get out of the noise and
Mhm.
learn your
Mhm.
Italian or meet some other
Mhm.
expats. I can tell you, I know that number, growing number of
Mhm.
Americans, baby boomers
Right.
age,
Mhm.
moving to Italy,
Mhm.
considering this
Mhm.
picturesque
Mhm. Oh
idea.
yeah, it was gorgeous.
Yes.
Mhm.
And you know, more and more people now moving out of the cities, and we
Mhm.
know it.
Mhm.
And it will be probably, we reconsider our priorities.
Mhm.
Like for me, I like big cities. I
Mhm.
big
Right.
cities.
You love having the excitement, everything there, all of those things.
But for me, if kind of museums are closed,
Mhm.
concerts not clear when they're gonna be,
Mhm.
and like, okay, I can live in other place
Mhm.
and enjoy different
Mhm.
lifestyle. And again, beauty of Europe.
Mhm.
But when you have correct papers, you can travel in other
Mhm.
countries.
Right.
You
Right.
just on a weekend
Mhm.
be in Germany,
Mhm.
and every place might bring you some
Mhm.
surprises, adventures, and opening your mind
Mhm.
and spirit.
Right. And as you've said, it really, the important thing is that you have done your research and okay, here's, if you mentioned in your ebook that there's a minimum investment that you have to make. And it was for many of the countries, it was very reasonable to be considered, and so it does take knowing those things, and and again, things change, so what we talk about this year might be different next year, but yeah, I mean, it really did fascinate me with the different options that you were suggesting, because there are that, hey, you want to live on an island. Do you
Yeah.
want the beach lifestyle? Ooh, are you more interested in history, culture, and obviously in many countries you've got lots of those in one place, but and it really was something that I think a lot of people don't tend to think about, because they only are thinking about the tourist destinations, and those are great, but as we've said, this is where you're going to be potentially living for many months, many years. So what are the things that are there? And I love that you have connected with the people to get that knowledge, and get those contacts, because I mean, this is not something that somebody really could reasonably just go, ooh, I want to go live in Bulgaria. Yeah. They need to work with someone like you who's got all of that information.
And I can tell you, speaking about Bulgaria, it's what I'm thinking for myself. I'm not
Wow.
sure yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to bring knowledge
Mm-hmm.
about Bulgaria,
Mm-hmm.
Montenegro,
Mm-hmm.
Macedonia, like Eastern
Mm-hmm.
European
Mm-hmm.
countries, which are less known to biggest, part of North
Mm-hmm.
American,
Mm-hmm.
is wonderful
Mm-hmm.
places, specifically when you retire.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Right.
climate,
Mm-hmm.
uh, wonderful, like you say, organic food. They don't have any others. They have all
Right.
organic
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
farm,
Mm-hmm.
and they have beaches,
Mm-hmm.
good infrastructure, cost of
Mm-hmm.
living, and very hospitable people.
Mm-hmm.
And even language might be concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that Eastern European younger generation
Mm-hmm.
speaking English,
Right.
everyone,
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So they go. Obviously, you need to know places.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's part of my plan now to go to Italy, Bulgaria, and
Mm-hmm.
actually to get my content to speak
Mm-hmm.
more with
Mm-hmm.
people. People are moving. Like it's less known in North America, but say British,
Mm-hmm.
Belgium,
Mm-hmm.
Germans
Mm-hmm.
discovered Bulgaria long ago. I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you that on the Black Sea shore, like Golden Sands,
Mm-hmm.
near the Varna, and Varna, it's a
Mm-hmm.
kind of second sort city in Bulgaria, ancient place with very cultural
Mm-hmm.
remnants and
Right.
historic building,
Mhm.
you can buy wonderful apartment and
Mhm.
40, 50K
Mhm.
euro
Mhm.
with wonderful European furniture,
Mhm.
and it's a good
Mhm.
lifestyle. It's a
Right.
comfortable life.
Mhm. Yeah, it is different than what we have here, and so you just have to know that that's what's going to happen. In some ways, it might be more luxurious. In some ways, it might be less luxurious. But again, those are the things to consider when you're moving. Is okay, is this what's for me? And so it's. But yeah, I mean, again, this just fascinates me to be able to think that that there are things and obviously as we keep saying, the world is getting smaller. It's going to be easier, and COVID's going to go away, or not go away. We're going to have adapted. So travel, we'll get back to being able to have more flights, more options, and so people who are thinking, well, I don't want to go that far away because it's 8 hours from home. Well, I went to Minneapolis a couple of weeks ago, and I actually found a direct flight. But there were some people, we went for a wedding. There were some people who weren't able to get direct flights, and so by the time they had all of their delays and all of their changes, it took one person. It took 10 hours to get to Minneapolis. Yeah, we could get to Europe in that time. And so that's one of the things that I think people need to consider is, all these things, we talk about, things change very rapidly.
Life skills are still not kind of as it's supposed to be. Telling the truth,
Mhm.
I'm waiting for a couple of months, reading every day European news, because I understand now, some countries open, close. And I don't want to have the same experience of, waiting in some airport. But there is one caveat in whatever you mentioned. It's all kind of brilliant observation. That do research. It's very good, advice. But there's so many sources in
Right.
can find. How to know what is right? Like, because developers promoting their properties and they have one point of view. Some other like tourist agencies promoting something else. And I know it took for me years to find people I can rely to, and I'm checking them, and I'm really very careful about my contact, because I know I need kind of to offer the same for people. And I feel like in some places I have connection already for year, like with people say in Bulgaria, in Macedonia, but I need to be and see how it looks like.
Right.
I need to feel
You need to experience it yourself.
and because I feel responsibility, because flashy pictures on the internet, it's okay, but my personal, like, I will go around and check all area, and I will go to the local pub to listen what people are speaking about. I feel I would understand it in Eastern Europe, at least. And I mean, I don't know about Italy because I'm not speaking Italian, but I know where to find our people. I mean, Russian speaking, I have several friends in Germany, like in each of the countries, which I can get kind of reliable information about local rules as well. It's what I'm about, because I know many people say, okay, we can do our research in Google. Google is big.
Right, but Google only does what has been given to it. And so the pictures, like you were talking about, the pictures, they might have been photoshopped. They might not even be the right place. And so yeah, we all have to filter it. And then like part of why I think Italy is so cool is movies. Now obviously what we have seen in movies is very different than what is real life. And so that's the other thing that we need to take into account is, okay, why are we thinking this is a great place to live? Is it because we've seen all these movies, and romanticized it, things like that? So again, that's where it's great that you take people on these trips before they ever make that decision to say, okay, is this something that you could do?
Like right now, like telling the truth, I'm not taking people to the tours. Like
COVID is still a big problem.
The only I can design the tour, say for couple or maybe two couples of friends, we to some place, but it's really hard to navigate with all these changes and uncertainty.
Right.
Speaking about Italy, I would give you another example that you might be not considered because you were not watching maybe Portuguese movies. But Portugal, it's a very, I would say, more convenient place to go. Again, what you look for. In Portugal, people speak good English. Might be surprised. In Portugal, there's already for years formed community of expats from United States, from UK, from Scandinavia, in south of Spain. If it's what you're looking for and you would be comfortable to live with, you can live in only English-speaking community. For me, it's kind of, I would like to mingle with locals.
Right. And you speak multiple languages.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not speaking Spanish and Italian. I'm about to learn it when I will learn. But I like people. I like to mingle with local people. But I just live your day-to-day life and you get advices and you, from safety consideration,
right,
people might consider to live in expat community, which is okay. That it's one of the questions on my questionnaire. What you prefer? What lifestyle you would see yourself? But there's big differences between countries. And for example, I would say that internet in Portugal, in infrastructure and banking might be better than in Italy.
Right.
And in Bulgaria, to some surprise, some companies and services might work better than in Portugal. Yes, there's a differences, and again, depends in what area you put your step. And again, some people prefer to live in the countryside and maybe to have their farm and to view mountain. It's possible in Italy, and even in yes. And other people would like to see ocean view, and other would consider to stroll over the central street of capital of one or other country. So it's what I'm about. Speaking about Latin America, Central America, I'm, by the way, very passionate about it because cost of living, because proximity, because a lot of things are changing. Colombia as a country over the last 15 years displayed the best rates of development, business development, economical. So a lot, I'm learning every day a lot of new things, and many of my kind of biases or ideas about countries I've had before really changed over the last years when I get more contact with local people, was looking deeply what's going on. And I can tell you that Mexico, Colombia became more and more popular.
Interesting.
Yes, for remote workers, for investors, for baby boomers. Panama, it's kind of known, and Costa Rica, but now the countries even competing with the digital nomad visa, with the golden visa in Caribbean over the last year. Like almost every Caribbean island state came out with digital nomad visa or golden visa.
I love it. Very interesting.
Oh, what I read last week, Curacao, who can think about good place? So Dutch island. So now you can buy property in Curacao and to get your residence in Curacao and Netherlands at the same place, in the same token. It's something unbelievable. Okay,
I love it.
And you're on the way to be, even it's 1,000 of miles in distance. There's a competition between countries to attract investment, to attract professionals, to attract people, I would say, good working attitude.
Right. And what I love is that is the service that you provide. We've been talking about that so that, people come to you and they say, hey, Emily, here's what we're looking for. And then you match them with the right place. Like you said, Italy might not be where I want to go. But tell us how they find you and connect with you.
The best source to get more information about what I'm doing, it's my website, emilybron.com. Whatever you see on my logo, emilybrontogether.com. I'm also can be found on LinkedIn as Emily Bron. I have Facebook page. I have Instagram appearance, like I exist in social media. But yes, website, you can schedule, there is a scheduler page. You can schedule appointment with me.
You've got your ebook there. I mentioned that. And that's a great little resource for people who are just starting to think about this process.
But I can tell a little bit more. So my services, the first stage, it's match you with a destination. But after what I'm offering, end-to-end solution, how to build your plan, your personal plan for your particular situation, when we already specified what country, or might be two countries. It's more research for me, and I'm providing all updated information based on your circumstances. And I'm looking for places, if you have children, good school. If you have some health concern, where's the hospitals which might serve, your particular, I don't know, diabetes.
Right. You never know.
You never know. But I'm providing now plan, and I'm connecting you with professionals because I know kind of in average, in general, what should be done. But I fully understand that, financial advisor should give financial advice, like taxation, and lawyer. I'm not one of
It's a team.
It's a team, but in correct stage of your kind of development in this or other countries, or your consideration, I'm connecting you with professional who will help you work and making papers correct. I, as kind of coordinator of all these efforts, making that all would be done on time, providing you additional information till you land in a place of destination place. And even over there, it will be team of the professionals, local professionals, which will meet people, bring them to the property, because you need to leave, you need, you're tired after a long flight or something. So I'm trying to accommodate all possible things to make it easy for people. Seamless transition through the stages, because it's a lot of stress.
Right.
I know myself, and like how it might be. I'm trying to help people to alleviate the stress where it's possible.
Great. I love it. I love it. Well, again, that's at Emily Bron, and that's BRON.com. Do you have any final thoughts for us?
What I'm thinking and what I'm observing over the last year, world is changing. And I believe that historian will look at this maybe 10-year, 20s of years 20s of 21st centuries as a time of migration. We know from the history, when political, economical, and other situations changing, people were moving from country to country, from continent to continent. I realized that a couple of years ago, I see the proof of my thought direction every day. Be prepared to it. Mentally accept it as adventure. Don't be stressed. I understand it's not for everyone. Changes are coming. Be open to it and be prepared. Please come to me. I will try to make your trip or your transition to your new life chapter easier.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been an absolutely wonderful discussion. It's definitely given me some things to think about. But I am Deb Creer. I've been having a delightful conversation with Emily Bron. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Thank you very much. I wish everyone prosperity and relief of stress, and enjoy your lifestyle in place you are living.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.